One psalm a day. Psalm 23. Imagine standing at the edge of your darkest valley, ready to give up. What if that's exactly where you find peace? Psalm 23 isn't just a prayer, it's a map through the storm. Join us for a story of one man's breaking point by a quiet lake and discover a blessing that will carry you through any darkness. Don't turn away, the psalm is calling you today. A story of hope that brings Psalm 23 to life. The path through the valley, the city loomed gray and heavy, swallowing Daniel with every step. At 35, he clutched a crumpled layoff notice, the sting of a recent breakup adding to his burdens. His eyes, once bright with dreams, saw only a barren wasteland, each step leading nowhere. "I can't do this anymore," he muttered, pausing at the edge of a deserted park, his heart racing with a haunting choice: to give up entirely. In the park, a still lake mirrored the orange sky, a stark contrast to the storm in his mind. He sank onto a bench, the letter trembling in his hands. Nearby, an elderly woman, Clara, watered flowers in a garden bed, humming softly. Noticing Daniel, she approached cautiously. "You look lost, son. This lake's calmed me on rough days. Want to talk?" Daniel shook his head, guarded. "There's nothing to say. My life's a desert." But Clara pressed gently. "Sometimes it's in the desert you hear best." Her words stirred something, a childhood memory, a psalm his grandmother used to recite. The words came like a whisper. "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing." Daniel repeated them softly, each syllable sinking in. It wasn't just a memorized line, it was an anchor. He gazed at the lake, its calm waters reflecting the sky, and thought, what if I'm not as alone as I feel? Clara kept watering, her quiet presence an unspoken invitation. Daniel began tying the psalm's words to his life. "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters." He recalled moments when, even at his lowest, something sustained him. A friend covering his rent, a job interview out of nowhere. It wasn't everything he wanted, but he'd never lacked what he needed. "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil." The words hit like a shield. He relived the night he nearly gave in to despair, only to be pulled back by a cousin's unexpected call. "You are with me," he murmured, sensing an unseen presence, like the breeze now rippling the lake. The rod and staff weren't punishment, but guidance, like Clara, who, without saying much, nudged him to reflect. "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Daniel thought of colleagues who doubted him, the ex who criticized him, and the quiet victories: getting out of bed, sketching a new freelance project. "You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." It wasn't just material blessings, but an inner renewal, courage to start again. And when the final words echoed, "Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life," Daniel felt a living promise. The future was uncertain, but fear no longer ruled. He stood, taking his first steps toward home, the letter still in his pocket, but lighter now. He didn't have all the answers, but Psalm 23 had become his compass, a map through the valley. The shepherd was there, guiding, protecting, always near. Daniel stood at the edge of his darkest valley, yet by a quiet lake, he found a shepherd's voice calling him back to hope. Psalm 23, ISNT, just ancient poetry, it's a living map for every soul lost in the shadows. What he found in those words, you can find today. Come, let's hear this promise unfold and discover how it speaks to your heart right now. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Gaze. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Shall we take a moment to reflect? Psalm 23 is perhaps the most tender and intimate of all psalms. It doesn't speak about distant battles or kings and nations. It speaks about the soul. It is the voice of someone who has discovered that life, with all its valleys and shadows, is not a lonely path. For there is a shepherd who walks beside us. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. This opening line is more than poetry. It is a declaration of surrender. To say, I lack nothing, is not to deny that life brings hardship, but to affirm that in the presence of God, nothing essential is ever missing. He fills the spaces where fear and emptiness try to grow. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. The image is so vivid. The shepherd doesn't drive his sheep forward in exhaustion. He gives them rest. Green pastures and still waters are not luxuries, but necessities. Our souls, weary from the noise and demands of the world, are restored in his presence. This is a psalm about being led, not into frenzy, but into peace. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Life is a maze of choices, and often we don't know which turn to take. Yet the shepherd's guidance is not arbitrary. His leading is tied to his character, his name. If we trust him, we are not just wandering. We are being carried along a path of purpose. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Notice, the psalm does not say if, but even though. Valleys are not hypothetical. They are inevitable. Darkness will come. Loss, doubt, and fear will shadow our days. But here lies the promise, not that we are spared from valleys, but that we are never abandoned in them. The shepherd's presence changes the very nature of the valley. Fear loses its grip, because we are not alone. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. The tools of the shepherd are not meant to harm, but to protect and guide. The rod drives away the predator. The staff pulls back the wandering sheep. Both are instruments of love. What feels like discipline is often protection. What feels like restriction is in truth rescue. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This verse is breathtaking. Even when surrounded by those who wish us harm, God doesn't merely shield us, he honors us. He turns the battlefield into a banquet hall. Peace becomes possible even when threats still loom. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Anointing is a sign of being chosen, beloved, set apart. To be anointed is to be reminded. You are not forgotten, and the cup overflowing. That is abundance, not of possessions, but of grace. The shepherd gives not just enough, but more than enough. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. What a promise. We often imagine goodness as something we must chase. Yet here, goodness and love are not ahead of us. They are behind us, following, pursuing, like a shadow of grace that never leaves. Wherever we go, they are already on our trail, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The psalm ends not in the valley, but in the home of God. This is the final destination. Not endless wandering, but belonging. We were not made for fear. We were made for communion with him. Psalm 23 is a journey, It begins in the field, moves through the valley, sits at the table, and ends in the eternal house of the Lord. It tells us that no season of life is outside the care of the shepherd. When we are weary, he gives rest. When we are lost, he guides. When we are afraid, he walks with us. When we are attacked, he defends and honors us. When we wonder about tomorrow, he promises goodness, love, and a home forever. And maybe this is why the psalm has comforted countless souls for centuries, because it reminds us of the one truth we most need to hear. We are never alone and never without hope.